Viewer note: this story is purely fictional and intended for entertainment purposes only. However, some content may be disturbing to certain audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Chapter 16: The Change of the World. Military. It was February 22nd, 2028, a Tuesday. More than a year and a month had passed since the official release of the Supreme Principles of Human Civilization. In that time, every corner of human society had been undergoing unprecedented changes in ways big and small. And among the most visible and most tangible transformations was the complete restructuring of the military sector and the birth of a new global security mechanism. Under the leadership of the Supreme Council of Human Civilization, its global headquarters, and the 4 regional headquarters AP, Asia Pacific, AF, Africa, AM, Americas, and EU, Europe, had all been completed with the strong support of Dragonia Country's infrastructure capabilities, and were now fully operational. At the same time, the Council had issued a clear directive to all nations. All countries must complete comprehensive reforms of their laws and policies by March 1st, 2029. The deadline had been set. The pressure was building, and at the very core of this transformation, the reform of military systems, undoubtedly the most critical and the most sensitive. In this global military shift, Dragonia Country once again demonstrated its signature efficiency and decisiveness. Not only had they been the first to complete the full transition of their armed forces, they had also finished the registration, cataloging, and digital management of all weapon systems. They had become the vanguard force within the framework of the Human Civilization Security and Defense Corps. Though the shadows of the old world had been greatly weakened by the Great Judgment and global reckoning, some stubborn remnants still refused to let go of power and profit. Led by the remaining forces of the Starland nations and the Mezi nations, they had gathered mercenaries, private armed groups, and even extreme nationalists, and were making last stands in fringe regions trying to delay, sabotage, even overthrow the establishment of the new order. They didn't believe in rules. They only believed in weapons. And for these illegal armed factions, the Dragonia Country military authorized by the Council had received one clear order: engage. But this wasn't a traditional military strike. This was something else entirely. A precise, efficient, non-lethal, yet utterly shocking act of civilizational takeover. The operation begins. Target location: an underground militant base formerly controlled by Starland, believed to house a large cache of unregistered weapons, communication devices, and to be actively involved in illegal arms trading and combat training. Inside a Dragonia Country frontline command center, the atmosphere was tense but orderly. "Report," said a technical officer standing before a holographic map, voice calm and professional.
The silencer system has successfully blanketed the target zone. Confirmation: all enemy communications, command links, and external satellite connections have been severed.
His tone didn't waver. It was as if he were reporting a routine system maintenance. "Copy that," the commander replied grimly, then gave the order: "Execute Step 2. Initiate the erasure protocol." The next second, time seemed to freeze. Inside the target zone, a buried weapons depot hidden deep within mountain rock, an eerie silence fell. First, every electronic screen went dark at once. Then the hum of servers, the low buzz of backup generators, all vanished instantly. No explosions, no fire, no smoke. But every piece of electronic equipment inside that zone, from missile guidance chips to individual comms devices to the command center's mainframes and server arrays, was permanently disabled by an invisible energy pulse. They were now nothing more than piles of expensive, flickering scraps of junk. Even the local civilian power grid shorted out briefly. In a nearby town, a man sitting in his living room, sipping coffee and watching the morning news, suddenly saw his TV go black. His radio let out a sharp buzz and started smoking. "What the hell?" a middle-aged man yelled, holding up the smoking radio, frowning. "I was just trying to listen to the news." Next to him, a younger guy looked up, grinning. "Whoa, check that out. That's one of Dragonia Country's new electromagnetic suppression drones. So cool." Deprived of all electronic surveillance, communication, and counterattack capabilities, The militants were instantly blinded and deafened. What shocked them even more? When Dragonia Country ground forces arrived and surrounded the base, many low-ranking soldiers and even some locals, upon learning that the incoming force was the Dragonia Country army, operating under council authorization for a civilizational takeover mission, offered little resistance. Some even opened the base gates themselves and led the soldiers straight to hidden weapon caches. "The weapons are in that warehouse over there," said a man in a worn Starland uniform, voice tired, pointing wearily. "The electronics? Well, after your little pulse thing, you fried even the game console under my bed. Think that counts as a work injury?" He half joked, his tone part self-deprecating, part relieved. His complaint drew a few chuckles from the Dragonia Country troops. "Sorry," said the Dragonia Country captain, clapping him on the shoulder, voice light but firm. "Game consoles aren't on the compensation list." He paused, then added with a smirk, "But power'll be back tomorrow. New civilian comm system goes live too." Another beat. "Oh, and if you want a game," he said.
"First step, register. Be a law-abiding new human, okay?"
The entire operation went down without major firefight. No civilian casualties. Dragonia Country forces secured mountains of firearms and heavy equipment with minimal cost and gathered the dazed former militants for centralized processing. All that remained on site: a field of dead electronics, black screens, scorched cases, silent circuits. They looked like the final electronic tombstones of the old era, quietly marking the end of a time. The full after-action report from Dragonia Country forces was immediately uploaded to the Kunlun system and to the AI terminals of the 4 regional headquarters: Isa, Viracocha, Oshun, and Aurora. They were already analyzing the data, running strategy evaluations. This was just the beginning. Those electronic graveyards? They would send a powerful message to every remaining rogue force on the planet. The next one? Well, who's next?